Hello, and welcome to this episode of Ask a Hypnotherapist. My name is Tanya Creaser, and I am the owner of Shine Spirituality. And I am here with my esteemed colleague,
Hi, I'm
my
Jazmin Calderon.
co-hostess, my co-hostess with the mostest, Jazmin Calderon Marquez.
And I'm
Hello,
with Hypnosis with Jazmin. Sorry, I totally jumped in on your intro.
It's okay. I mean, you were introducing yourself, man. I scream it from the rooftops.
I'm Jazmin.
Oh, we have so much fun. I love it. And Jasmine's company is named
Hypnosis with Jazmin. Jazmin, guys, because my mama spelled it funny.
No, it's because she's exotic.
God, I'm gonna tell my mom that.
And then on today's show, we're going to continue our conversation on what is your best and favorite hypnosis to perform on people. That is our topic and question for today. So, Jazmin, let us know.
My favorite is past life regression. And I think it's what I get booked the most for in workshops and sometimes individually. It was also the first type of hypnosis and hypnotherapy I experienced as well. So it's what sucked me into this world and changed my life forever. And I've used it so many times for myself as well as with clients. And I just love it.
So, what was your first encounter with past life regression? Like, how did you hear about it?
Pinterest. Pinterest. I was on Pinterest trying to make a better bucket list because mine was pretty lame. And so I was like, cool bucket list ideas. And one of the pins was past life regression with hypnotherapy. And I had never even heard of hypnotherapy. I only knew of hypnotists like in stage shows. And I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. And so I just Googled hypnotherapist past life regression near me. And I found the closest lady. She was about an hour away, and I made an appointment and I did it. And it was kind of scary because I had no knowledge of what I was going into, what was going to be like. This lady didn't have an office in town. Many of us don't actually these days.
No,
it was in this lady's house, and I was going to a stranger's house, which was really scary for me. I sent
where she was going to hypnotize you.
Well, I was one of those people who did have a lot of misconceptions about hypnosis. I thought she was going to mind control me. I was afraid I was going to be so deep and under that my organs were going to be stolen. And yet I still showed up to this lady's house, guys. Come on. Like,
that past life regression was calling hard.
It was. So, and my gut, I really felt a huge push from the universe saying, it's time to take a leap of faith. You need
So that's what I was going to ask you next is how did you know that you were ready for that? Like, wanting to do it and putting it on a bucket list is like, did you hear like something from the inside say, it's time we need to do some discovery?
So I was at that time, I was on the journey of trying to figure out what I wanted for my next career because I had left teaching. I was in the middle of my recovery process from getting injured. And I had asked the universe specifically when I left teaching, which is a job that I loved with all my heart, to give me 6 months to figure out a job that was going to give me equal or greater love than teaching. And I was at that 5-month mark and I still hadn't found one. And so when I was remaking the bucket list, I was like, I got a month left. Looks like I'm returning to teaching. Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm just going to enjoy this last month off before the new school year starts. Let's choose something. And a lot of things on my bucket list required traveling. I don't have the money for that. I didn't have the money for that. I couldn't go to Italy to go eat,
Yeah.
Or Japan to go eat sushi. But the one that was past life regression. And when I had Googled the lady, she was nearby. And I was like, come on. You just said you
changed your life.
And it changed my life. And
despite totally.
Yeah. And so I am a cop's daughter. So to go to some stranger's home to do possible what I was thinking mind controlling thing, it was going against all the things I was taught growing up. But I really did feel this huge push from the universe and God saying, "You need this.
Yeah.
Go, just go, do it."
And you weren't afraid of it. So, I mean, it seems like you
Oh
were
no, I was
just
terrified, terrified, terrified. I really, literally, guys, I was because I had.
what I meant was not necessarily the part going to a stranger's house where you weren't afraid of the procedure itself. And that was my next question. I'm going to ask you a little bit about set us up on what the procedure for a past life regression hypnosis looks like.
So, and this is the way that I do it because that lady, she was so nice. She was so patient with me because I was very nervous and I was resisting going under into hypnosis because I didn't really understand what was going to happen and I had a lot of misconceptions. So I do go very in depth when I do when I do consultations with others, so that way they understand that this is not about mind control. There's actually no way that I could control them. This is them going on their own journey, and I'm just there as a guide to be there for them. Um, and then I go into what actually is past life regression. And so there are two thought, like if you think of past life regression as a what it is on a spectrum, on one end
Mhm.
of the spectrum, you have the spiritual side that believes that past lives regression is a real thing. You've had many past lives that are affecting you positively and or negatively in this lifetime. So those past
Mhm.
lives are embedded somewhere in your neural pathways and those traits or experiences are still affecting you. Whereas the very opposite end of the spectrum is the science side that says, hey, we can't prove if past lives are a real thing. You have some kind of issue that you're trying to deal with. You're using this imagination process about you having a past life to solve this current issue. But even though it's a placebo effect, it has positive benefits. And a lot of
Mhm.
psychotherapists actually do use past life regression techniques to help with phobias.
Oh.
So that's
So
something.
is it almost like a timeline therapy where you find out,
Maybe, I'm not sure.
yeah, where you find out kind of subconsciously or just even soulfully. And that's, I experienced a past life regression and I loved it. And I was a little like you the first two times I was resisting, you know. But that third time, boy, like when I tell you I got to walk
Mhm.
through all of, the past lives, it was so educating. You
It's
don't think.
amazing the things that you experience in past lives, and depending on the intention that you go into it for,
Yes.
right? I do highly suggest that you have an intention before, like going into past life regression. Um, and it's not to guarantee that that's so. For example, let's say you're like, oh, I want to regain a past life that had financial abundance. Like, I want to know how I was like rich in a past life, right?
Mhm.
And then maybe you go into the hypnosis session, and that's not the life you see, right? We can't guarantee it, but by having an intention, it does help guide the subconscious to possibly getting there. Most people actually do, but I find
Mhm.
if you don't have the intention, your mind's going everywhere and your soul's going to show you whatever it needs to know. And it may not be what you were expecting. And you're shocked, which is what happened my first time. She was like, "What's your intention?" I was like, "I don't have one. I just want to see what it's like."
Yeah.
And I felt like after that session that I was just in complete shock. And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I did need it because it kind of jump started the path of me going on a mental health healing process. Um, just like a quick thing. So I'll tell you a little bit about what that life was. Basically, it showed me the pattern of why I have depression. So in this current life as Jasmine, I've had postpartum depression several times. And I always was wondering, but why me? Why? Always, I think that I'm a very strong person, but then all of a sudden, like I'm in these depression episodes being caused by hormones, and I need all this extra assistance, and I felt bad about myself not being able to power through it, right?
Mhm.
But when I experienced that past life that showed me a life where I had depression and the choices that I made, I realized that this life, so for example, in that life, I chose to end my life
Wow.
because I was so depressed. I had no one around me that I was very alienated in that life towards the end, and I had no one to support me or love me to help me through it. And in this life, I have depression, but I have tools around me to help, and I have loved ones. I'm able to see in this lifetime so many people who love me,
Yeah.
and it gives me the strength to reach out when I need help, to use the tools, and to actively continue my mental health journey to be able to help me when I go through these hormonal imbalances.
So did you notice after your past life regression when you had it and you were able to see those things and it kind of made you experience more gratitude for what you have in this life? Did you feel like any kind of like integration soulfully where you just felt healed with that moment and you don't have to carry that kind of energy into the next one?
For me, my anytime I experience past lives, I feel that integration over time. Like it's like click, then a little bit longer, click. Like as things start to click into place and make sense to me. So for me, that first click was just understanding that this wasn't my first time having depression, but also it clicked of how wonderful this life is and how I'm strong enough that I'm not going to make that same choice that did back then. Right.
Yeah.
But then over time, I still have sometimes depression. I have those depression episodes when my hormones dip due to different life things, guys. But I don't know, I'm able to kind of reflect back on that life. Also, sometimes I even revisit that life now in in past life regressions to learn more about it.
Mhm.
And I don't know, I just see myself and that person that I was then differently in a very loving manner. So instead of thinking that I'm a failure for having depression, I'm able to be empathetic and loving towards myself. And I can see how strong I am with
Wow.
depression.
That is such an amazing tool to have. And I love that you were able to find that, have it change your life, have it heal a lot of things. So let me come to today, to the present moment. How do you like performing it? What was the first one that you did and how was that for you? And what's your favorite part about doing it?
So I started doing past life regression actually while we were still at HMI,
Mhm.
Hypnosis Motivation Institute, for anyone this is their first podcast they're listening to. So I had done training with Lisa Mackenberg for past life regression. And at HMI, for anyone that doesn't know, we actually have to go through clinical hours in order to become hypnotherapist. And since I loved PLR so much, I wanted to explore that in my clinicals. And so when I put it out there, like, hey, does anybody want to be basically my guinea pig as I practice my hypnosis techniques? I can do PLR now. And
Yeah.
people are like, yeah, free PLR. Let's do it.
It took me a minute because I was like, I'm scared of PLR. I don't want to do it.
People do it. People like
But
it.
everybody was like, "Do you do PLR?" I'm like, "No."
It's one of those. So, like, hypnosis is known for like some main areas, right? So we have smoking, weight loss, fears and phobias, and then sleep. Sleep is another big one.
Yes.
People use that for sleep. And then there's past life regression, and not everyone does past life regression. So I mean, I love it. I do. I forgot what the original question was, but
No, it was what was your favorite part about doing it? Like, what do
Oh,
you
the
like seeing that the
stories,
clients are experiencing? Oh, I can imagine the
the
stories have to be
stories.
awesome.
You never know what to expect. So for example, if you have a client that comes in for anxiety, test anxiety, right? Like you kind of guess like where it's going to go. You've already talked during your talk portion and maybe like their past experiences, what it's like. You have a game plan of what's going to happen and how you want to take them through this process over a session or sessions. Past life regression, you're just like, who are they going to say? Where are they going to be?
Gonna
Who are they
happen
going to
here.
be? What are they going to be? And
And how long, how, I'm sorry, how long is it usually like when you're setting up the session and you're having a client ready and for a hypnotherapist, like we walk into the room not knowing anything.
mhm,
Okay. We do not prepare. I mean, any really, really amazing hypnotherapists, they're not going to sit there and try and prepare every little thing for your session.
yeah.
We prepare ourselves. When we go into a session with the client, we prepare ourselves and then we start creating your safe space.
Mhm,
We start making sure that you are comfortable, that you have everything you need, that for a past life regression, Jazmin will explain in a moment how long they are. But we always make sure that our clients are comfortable. So we get comfortable, we check our energy at the door, we check our ego at the door and everything else, and we walk into that safe space ready for you.
mhm.
So, how long is a past life regression generally?
So I schedule 2-hour sessions, but you're not under for 2 hours, guys. So really, so the 2 hours is one, like if you've never been my client before, we need to do testing to see what kind of suggestibility you have. So that takes a little bit. And then, we also have the talk portion where we're trying to figure out what is your intention? What are your goals? What are your misconceptions about hypnosis if we didn't already discuss that during consultation? Then the second half, so I would give about 45 minutes to an hour roughly for this portion. And then I also leave a little bit of time for coming out and the discussing, because
Mm,
for some people, like they have this journey and it's very joyous, right? Depending on what their attention is. And others are just like, oh my God, like I need to process this. And they need some time to talk about what they
yeah,
encountered. And also it's just fascinating to hear the different stories. I mean, I've had some people who my okay, I'm gonna tell you my favorite one, and it's not telling her name or her situation.
of
Um,
course.
but her intention was to have to experience a life with, how did she say it? To experience a life, something about love, not unending love. Oh gosh, what was her
Unconditional love?
Thank you. Unconditional love. She wanted to experience life with unconditional love. And she specifically used the words with unconditional love, right? And in the past life regression, she was a dog. And she loved her owner so much. She has so much free love for her owner. And she was a spoiled little dog. And it was my first time having a client that had an experience of patience,
Excuse
right? And whether you believe in past life or past lives or not, guys,
me.
does
Mhm.
it matter? Because that client was able to experience unconditional love during that
Yeah.
session. And she, even as a dog, she teared up a bit. She was able to experience a beautiful feeling. And I thought that was amazing. Like really.
No, I think that's amazing, and that is it to me. Like, I feel like for the past life regression, since it's something I didn't specialize in, but it is something that I have received. I find like I like to do the whole um what would be like while you're under there, like, have you had anybody like experience anything really like jarring, and how do you go through like transitioning from the past life to a different past life or to
So
like
generally I do one past life a session. I know some do several, like if you have the time. Some hypnotherapists will do like 3-hour past life regressions, like
Mhm.
really long ones. And just in my current schedule, like I do the 2 hour, and then I just, we concentrate on one. Um, what was the
Was like, if you've experienced anything like really
Oh,
jarring, like
jarring.
yeah,
Yeah. I've
shocking.
had some clients. So this actually happened during a group workshop. And so, I'm hypnotizing the entire group. Everyone's gone under. But the difference in a group one is that I cannot ask one-on-one questions and guide each individual. It's more general questions. But if I
Mhm.
notice that someone is very emotional, like I would probably go over and make sure that they're okay. I actually sometimes in the beginning of the workshop, I will actually like start it off and put kind of like this like little thought in their head already, that if at any point anything becomes too much, you can always freeze what's going on, like pausing the pause button on a remote,
Mhm.
and you can step out of the picture and watch it as if it's on your phone or screen, right? And so I have done that before for some who it's just too much emotion, usually.
Yeah.
Nothing really, never had one that's like scary, just too, like it felt too overwhelming to that individual at that time.
Yeah, with trauma, I do that a lot too, so people don't feel like they're in that space when that bad thing happened to them. I
Yeah.
have them step out of that too. So for the past life regressions, I want to say that my last question I completely slipped my head. I'm an amazing
That's okay. I already
interviewer.
slipped two questions already. And I've been like, Tanya, what was it? Like I went, should have them on flashcards and be like, this is your question.
But for me, like the curious thing, because I have only done a past life regression in a group setting. I haven't done it in a one-to-one. So is there a difference between the very like how deep is somebody have to be for a past life regression?
Just regular, like, so your depth is going to depend on the person anyway. I still
Mhm,
prefer one-on-ones because I feel like we can really explore past life way better that way, because I'm able to
mhm,
ask you questions, you'll be able to answer back, us explore whatever specific intention you have. And a group, which is still a great way to experience past life, but it's more general, right? And
yeah,
so I don't know what each individual person is going through. So you're just kind of like going through it a little bit unguided in that
mhm.
sense. Um,
So they don't have to be really, really deep in hypnosis and
no, I
trance, I
think
should.
it's like any type of hypnosis that you do visualizations, or even not everyone visualizes, right? But any type of hypnosis, whatever your depth level is, you're going to be able to experience it. It's about letting yourself, right? Like you said, the
Mhm,
first two times you had difficulty accessing it. It's about letting yourself use your imagination, use your visualizations. It's allowing the process. And I think that doesn't matter whether you do a group one or individual. If you're going to resist it, you're going to resist it.
yeah.
And
So the
sometimes it
important
just
thing.
creates, yeah, sometimes you just need time to either get used to the process or develop that rapport with your hypnotherapist.
So what's a good way for somebody if they were looking into wanting to get a past life regression and they're feeling that calling to do it or they're just curious about it? What is a good way
Call
to
me.
prepare for that? Definitely call you. What's a good way to prepare for that for people who are interested in past life regression? What's a
I
good
mean,
way to prepare for
you can read books. There are books about past life regression.
Mhm,
Um, I mean, there's YouTube videos that kind of explains more about it, or different types. There's different types of past life regression. I only know one way that I learned from Lisa Mackenberg, but there's other modalities out there. I would really journal about what you want, so that way you're more clear with your intention and kind of your
mhm.
goals for it. But really, it's reaching out to someone that knows how to do this and have a consultation, because you want to be able to understand the process, and for you to feel comfortable with the person you're doing
Yeah,
this.
that's so interesting. I am looking forward to having one and my birthday's coming up. Okay.
I got you. I got you. No, if you're only listening to this, I'm winking. I got
Yeah.
you.
She's like, but thank you so much for giving us an in-depth look into what past life regression is all about and why you love doing it. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, I think this is definitely this is definitely a subject that can be explored more, and I'm really interested in
Mhm.
inviting others that do past life regression, just different modalities of it. So we'll be working on that, guys, in the future. So look out for that. And if you have any questions at all about past life regression, hypnotherapy, just any question at all, please do not be afraid. Please ask us those questions because we'd love to be able to answer them.
Definitely that, definitely that. All right, Jasmine, thank you so much
Thank you,
as
guys.
usual. And thank you all for joining and listening. And, anything y'all want to know, please feel free to write us and say, I want to know about such and such thing. So this way, it's an open forum. Ask a hypnotherapist anything that you're interested about hypnotherapy, hypnosis, past life regression, trauma healing, or, clearly not with like non-smoking and stuff. I haven't done that
But
one.
we will be inviting probably someone in the future that does do it because that is great
Yes,
info for you guys to have.
it really, really is. So thank you and
Bye,
have a good
everyone.